Hey, I'm Emma. Welcome to my page. I am a trainer and fitness enthusiast. I love to work out all the time, and after almost a year, I finally got COVID. Well, not finally, it makes it sound desirable, but I got sick and it sucked. And if you also have COVID and you're wondering what next steps you have when you start to recover for working out, hopefully this video is helpful. I'm going to share a little bit about my story, about my experience with COVID, and then some of the research I did to figure out how to safely get myself moving again. So first, I got really sick. I'm not sure how sick you are. Any amount of sick sucks. I had the full Monty, fever, cough, sore throat, not so much shortness of breath, but it was there. Lost a taste and smell, you name it, I had it. And it took a while to get better. You know, they say after 10 days you're no longer contagious and can go live life again. I waited 3 weeks before leaving the house because I was sick past that 10-day mark. It actually took almost a full month until I really started to even feel like I could be out in public without having a coughing fit. So while I hope that your case of COVID doesn't last that long, know that it can, and some symptoms really do persist. I was getting dizzy until about week 6. So it's been a journey. But each step of the way, I took my time and I continued to feel better bit by bit. So I hope you do as well. When I was first starting my exercising, I decided just to start walking. I wasn't really concerned with training goals or even sweating. And I went for a walk that usually takes me 30 minutes. It took me a full hour, so really took my time. Then a couple days later, I went for another walk, and that went better, but I took 2 flights of stairs in my walk, and I felt like I'd sprinted. I was gasping for air at the top of the stairs, so that was pretty humbling. Then a couple days later, I'd been walking more and more. I was feeling like my stamina was getting up, and it's important to push your cardio system, and honestly, walking wasn't doing it anymore. I was never so sick with COVID that just simply walking left me gasping for air. Very lucky. So I thought, well, I should probably do some cardio. I got a spin bike, but that seemed boring. So I picked up my kettlebell to do kettlebell swings. My heart rate spiked to 180 after 10 swings. Now, I'm not sure if you wear a heart rate monitor or not, but that's high. Mine usually only goes to 168 when I'm doing my workouts. I was like, wow, that's scary. But, it came back down. I adjusted my workout accordingly. The next workout, heart rate didn't spike as high, but it stayed over 100 for hours after my workout. So your heart really is working very hard as it's recovering from COVID. And then the next workout went better. I recovered more quickly. My heart rate stayed at a more moderate rate, only really spiked up to 165. But I would notice that as my workouts went, my heart rate would spike very quickly, but things started to, soften. The spikes weren't as high. I was able to recover more quickly when my heart rate did spike. I was starting to get that cardiovascular health back. And now it's been about 7 weeks since I first got sick. And I would say at about 6 weeks, it was the first time I thought, I don't feel sick anymore. So, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. All right, so what takeaways do I have for you? First of all, I'm not a doctor. I am just a trainer who went through this herself. So I did a lot of homework, reading articles about what doctors were saying you should do as you want to get back to exercise after COVID. And the overwhelming consensus is that you need to take it slow when you come back. So that's my first tip, is to take it slow and hydrate. You want to think, if I was doing something at 100% before COVID, I want to take it down to maybe 50%. So for example, if you're talking about just doing some squats, and normally you pick up 50 pounds, start with 25. I promise it's going to feel really heavy. Or if you're used to running 2 miles, just run 1 mile. You might even find that depending on how demanding the activity is on your cardiovascular system, that even 50% work capacity is still too much. And also make sure you hydrate. After I had COVID, I found I was very thirsty all the time. I had a fever for 10 days. My body was so dehydrated, despite my best efforts to stay hydrated. So you'll probably notice you're getting extra thirsty when you're even just talking, let alone moving. So just really make sure you hydrate. That's going to be super important. Next, I would suggest focusing on things like mobility in the beginning. So you've been sitting or laying there for weeks, barely any movement. The CDC says you're not even allowed to leave your house. You are stiff and your whole body just needs to be woken up. So if you can do gentle yoga or some really gentle stretching and making sure you go through all your mobility work before you jump into any exercise is going to be really important right now. You're also, tip number 3, want to focus on core strength. I mean, your core has gone to sleep. So all of those really important core strengthening and stabilizing exercises that I always talk about are things that you're going to want to make sure you do more than even you used to. So I would suggest like maybe your first couple workouts are just some really light cardio, mobility, and core work. Like that would be a great place to start. 4th, be really mindful of your heart and lungs. COVID is this monster that they still don't know much about. And there's all this research coming out that is showing that COVID can have lasting effects on your internal organs, specifically your heart and lungs. We don't know who has the damage, who doesn't, and you don't want to overdo it and find out that you overdid it by ending up in the hospital. So just be mindful of your heart rate. Be mindful if you feel like you're gasping for air too quickly. You know, it's going to be hard to build up your cardio system. So you want to push it, but you don't want to push past your limits. So just being very mindful and careful as you go. And then 4th, you do want to incorporate cardio. You know, things are delicate and you know, you want to be gentle with your body, but you do want to be intentional with your movement. You want to make sure that you're not getting winded walking months after you get sick. So just forcing yourself to go at the beginning for a walk or a couple walks a day, and then starting to do more exercise that gets your heart rate up. I mean, honestly, anything's going to turn into cardio in the beginning, so it's not going to be hard to accomplish. But don't give up just because it's uncomfortable. You know, if you are alarmed by the reaction your body has, of course, slow down, but don't just give up because you are getting a little winded. So as you go on, just try to be present with yourself, mindful, maybe even keep a log of your exercise and how you feel every single day, you know, not even just around the exercise, just in general. So you can see the positive trends, because I hope there will be some. And then, 3-6 months from now, you're no longer going to feel any of these symptoms, I hope, and you'll be on the other side of it, and that horrible feeling you have now is just going to be a thing of the past. So I really hope you feel better soon. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions about my experience or about what's going on with you. I'll do my best to answer them. And good luck. Feel better.